So I would like to just give you a brief on what ML is. I'll divide my talk in three sections. So I'll give you a bit information of what is ML, and I'll for in interest of time, I won't go much into what is simple linear regression. I think Kit has already touched upon a lot of statistics, and I think most of you might be familiar with what linear regression is. I'll just go breeze over it, and then I'll come to machine learning in bioinformatics and especially in omics and the why and how. And then I will delve upon one particular case study of finding disease markers and touch upon one of the studies that I had undertaken for my master's dissertation project, and then I'll conclude. So let's begin. So I think you might have heard of ML a lot in the past few hours, as well as a lot in the past few months as well, with the rise of chat GPT and all that. So what exactly is machine learning? So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, a field of computer science and data science which focuses on making computers learn. And by usually when we mean that when we what do we mean exactly by computers learning? So by computers learning, usually it means that we are trying to learn from patterns in data, and then we can either predict future outcomes or make decisions. So ML is about learning about what mathematical function or models may fit the data that we have on our hands in the best way possible. On this slide, I have mentioned more like some of the really popular fields of machine learning and like what exactly encompasses machine learning. So moving on, so there are three types of machine learning. So supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. So supervised learning, as the name suggests, supervised learning is based. In supervised learning, we are actually when we are training the model, we are actually telling the model or telling the algorithm that so and so is my data and so is the output of so and so is the output of this data, and then based on this we try to predict what is coming next and ask the ML model to make prediction. In unsupervised learning, we are not having any assumptions about what the data is. We are not telling the computer anything. It will try to, based on what the data is, it will just try to find out patterns among the data, and then come out with what it feels the best about it. And in reinforcement learning, it's a slightly complicated topic. If you have heard of neural networks and deep learning, so reinforcement learning encompasses all that. So I'll give a brief example. So you might have already heard of classification and clustering in the previous talks. For reinforcement learning, what a good example might be is something. So if you are check up with the latest developments in AI and all. You might have heard of AI solving games and playing games and all that. So that is based on reinforcement learning, where you where you assign basically what you do is for each action you either assign a reward or punishment, and based on that the computer tries to maximize its reward. So that is what reinforcement is in a very brief bird's eye view. So I'll mention few terms so that you don't get lost when I'm using some ML jargon. So ML model, you might have heard about training this model and so on. So what exactly is an ML model? It's just a fancy term that we say for a mathematical functional algorithm, and it can be anything. It can be a polynomial function, it can be a linear function, anything which best suits our needs. So features are nothing but independent variables. So in context of omics data, your proteins and genes are all the features, like the expression intensities. All these are features. Labels, so labels are basically your resulting or answer variable. For example, when you're doing comparative disease based studies, your label would be whether the patient is control or disease. So that is a label. Training the model. So when I say we are trying to train the model, so essentially it means that we are trying to find the ideal parameters for the model. So since it is a mathematical function, it has a lot of parameters, so we are basically trying to find the ideal parameters. And objective function, usually when we are trying to determine the ideal parameters for a model, basically we are trying to optimize something. Like we are trying to, as I said, in reinforcement learning, you are essentially trying to maximize the reward. So what is meant by maximizing the reward? So usually the reward is some sort of an objective function which you're trying to maximize. So that is what is meant by objective function, and optimizing is basically trying to get the optimal values of the objective function. So I have mentioned a link here in this slide. You can actually go on it, and it's like a very nice resource for everyone who is interested in, or even for like experienced practitioners of machine learning. It's a good glossary in case you forget what terms are. So you can check this out later on. So I'll not go much through linear regression. I think right now you might be already aware of basic statistics and linear regression. Essentially linear regression is the, I would say, the simplest form of machine learning that you can do. So in linear regression, you have a set of two-dimensional data points where x is the feature, which is the independent variable, and y is a dependent variable. And we also know, somehow it may be possible that we already know through it because of theory. We know that y depends on x in a linear fashion. And based on whatever data points we have, we want to ascertain what is the linear dependence of y on x. That, in simple words, we need to find the linear equation of y. And if you since all of you done have your 10th standard, you of course know that for a linear equation we need to find the slope and the intercept. So essentially what my the solution to my problem is to find the values of m and c which best suit the data. Now, as you might be as you all know, that real life data is very messy, and you will never find data which perfectly fits something. So now even this data which is presented on this slide is very nice. In reality, the points will be way messed up beyond this. So this is a very simple example, just to get you acclimatized to it. So as you can see that no straight line would pass through all the points, right? Because all the points are scattered, and they won't lie in a straight line. So what is the next best thing that we can do? The next best thing that we can do is finding the line which fits the data the best. So what do you mean by a best fit line, right? So I have given a few candidates for the best fit line. So now the question is, how would you determine what is the best fit line? Now if you see the blue line which kind of passes through all the points through the middle, that looks like a good line. But however, what is to say that the orange line or the black line, which also symmetrically divide the points, is is bad? On what basis are we saying that? So to determine what is the best fit line, usually we have to use mathematics. And uh, you know for for understanding machine learning, like how it works, having a good idea of mathematics or even some basic idea of mathematics is important. And no, I don't expect you to understand all the mathematical concepts here. So at the most, understanding what is happening behind the scene is critical when it comes to doing scientific analysis. Because if for some reason your ML model fails, or your ML model is not producing optimal results, then you may be able to understand why it is happening like that. So now in linear regression, how we are trying to finding the best fit line is, we try to minimize something called as the error here. And in the slide you can see that the error is nothing but the distance from the point to the candidate line. So you can see that in the graph there's a interval called as random error, and my goal is to find such a line which minimizes the sum of squares of all these randomers. In very simple terms, I'm not going too much into the mathematical details. So in this scenario, in this way, we are trying to find the equation of the line which minimizes the error here, the square of the error to be precise. And after, you can of course there's many packages in R, Python and so on to find the best fit line, but this is what the best fit line looks like. And this line is unique, as in there is no other best fit line. So this line is obtained through the least squares approach, and this line is unique, and this is the best fit line, and we have proved it on the basis of least squares. So there is no argument that the line that I have found is random, or it doesn't do something very well. So this is like an example scenario of what ML does and why it is so important. So now coming to ML in omics, why do we need ML? So as you might have heard through multiple talks, and even seen right now in the hands-on session, that omics data is very very highly complex, and it's big data, so it has more than 10,000 features. In terms of transcriptomics, you have upwards of like 15,000 features. So when you want to do some targeted analysis, you can't go and do it for like even doing it for one or two particular genes or proteins is very difficult. So since biological validation consumes a lot of resources and time, we really need to we really need to find those features which are we are absolutely sure that this feature is important, this gene or protein is important for our study. So that is why it is very important to very important to find those candidate genes and proteins, and in this regard, machine learning helps us a lot. So now machine learning in bioinformatics is not something which has been started like few years ago. It has been going on since many years. So you can read on this very nice paper, which is it's even open access, so you can read it without any you can download and read it without any worries. You don't have to pay or anything. So I will put this paper in the workshop resources as well. So in this paper, we have mentioned how multiple machine learning algorithms have been incorporated into bioinformatics framework. So in the figure on the right, you can see there's multiple ML based techniques like SVM, KNN. So I